On the 1st of September 2010, the Green Group and the Intergroup on LGBT rights in the European Parliament organised a conference on the rights of transgender people in the EU. It gathered a number of MEPs, civil society, Commission officials, as well as experts. The number of participants was overwhelming, indicating that a meeting on this topic was long overdue. The Parliament finally took a long and earnest look at the rights of transgender people. It offered expert knowledge as well as concrete suggestions to move forward together.
I learned a lot because I understood how less we know about this issue, about the problems that people with transgender are facing.
For me personally, it was a very, very important initiative that has been taken because it's focusing on some problems that we have no awareness about. I would say it's not because people are against in this parliament doing legislation, but we were not aware about to what extent this problem are developing.
Well, what I'm taking back in the first place is that there's a huge interest in the topic, which from my point of view has emerged in the last years. That's really good. And what I see is a strong will to first of all learn about the issue and then probably in the next step to really change the situation on a legislative level.
The ideas that came during the debate are something that we needed to listen, but now it's our responsibility to react to those ideas and to those proposals by action.
It was a very, very interesting hearing, and I think a lot of members of the parliament and our committee have learned more about all problems we have today for transgender equality. And now we know a lot of things we must do, we have to do in our committee and the whole parliament.
I thought it was incredibly useful, and I really feel this is a policy area or an understanding of a policy issue which really is coming of age now, thanks in particular to the European Parliament, but also to the dedicated work of many of the people and organisations who were here.
On the whole, it went very well. Also, the number of MEPs who attended the event show that there is clear interest on the part of a number of MEPs to address this issue now, finally.
We learned a lot about how extremely complex the situation is, but also that there are a lot of courses of action that we can take. One thing very practically that I'm definitely going to take up is to create briefings for the other parliamentary committees, because the Foreign Affairs Committee should concern itself with transgender rights, and so should the Environment and Health Committee and lots of others. The event highlighted a number of issues that transgender people face regularly and which must be addressed by European institutions.
And what we have is that the European Court of Justice has ruled in a number of cases that certain transgender issues may fall under the notion of discrimination on grounds of sex. It's of course in a way an artificial construction. It would be much better to have it as a ground on its own where you can tackle it head on with all the many facets that are attached to it. The way it is that it is a rather limited approach.
Well, we include not only transsexual people, but all trans identity. As I've mentioned in my presentation, at the moment, only transsexual people are covered in existing EU legislation, and it would be important to cover all transgender people in this legislation. And parliamentarians should be aware of that there is a huge problem with this issue.
The Vice President of the ALDE Group, that we will continue looking close into this topic.
When you see that the last resolution formally dealing with the trans issue comes from 1989, that's a long time before we started working on this issue. So now it's time to update this and to put many of the issues that are not covered by that resolution into the official position of the Parliament right now.
Because as we know, gender identity as such is not identified in the treaty as a basis for action against discrimination. Nonetheless, we do have opportunities through the decisions of the European Court of Justice and also through our policy exchanges to develop actions to combat this type of discrimination.
Some member states seem to still get away with simply not implementing the provisions that would make sure that trans people are treated equally. So be it anti-discrimination in employment or in the acquisition of goods and services, for example. There are major gaps there, and this should be looked into very well.
See what we can do, and we have a progressive majority, so we're going to make the most of that.
It is high time that something like that is done, not only in a highly visible European institution, but also more generally. I think that the particular issue of transgender equality is, shall we say, is not seen sufficiently well in the discrimination discussion.